All right, y'all. Welcome back to Dead Spot Podcast. Here with another episode. We're gonna be recapping the weekend's games. This weekend we had every team in action to start the playoffs. Now listen, I know we're supposed to go Saturday to Sunday, but I'm gonna go Sunday to Saturday because my favorite team and my favorite player played on Sunday. Let's get into it. Wait, before we get into it, let me say this: it's just game one. That don't mean the series is over for no team involved. Just wanted to throw that out there. But let's get right into it. We started off Sunday with my Miami Heat taking on the Boston Celtics. It started off ugly. We got close in the middle, and then it finished ugly. But listen, when you look at it, of course, we missing Jimmy Butler. We missing Terry Rozier. So we already an uphill battle. There's really not much we're going to be able to do when that's most of our penetration right there. Most of our shot creation right there is kind of tough for us. So we got to find different ways to scrap and keep the game close. I think that going into the zone kind of helped a little bit just for the simple fact it's hard to match up with them one-on-one because we don't have size. Now, even with Jimmy Butler going down, we even get smaller. So it's like, who's going to guard Tatum? Every time we went ISO, he got a pretty easy bucket. Jaylen Brown was able to get a couple buckets early. You know what I'm saying? It just was tough. But we have to find a way within the zone to find the shooters better. Hauser was getting open for threes. We cannot allow Hauser and Pritchard them to get going because if they rolling, it's really nothing we can do. When you look at it, we can exploit them on the defensive end. We could attack Hauser, we could attack Pritchard, but if we're giving them threes on the other end, it doesn't matter. So we got to find a way. Spo, obviously the best coach in the league, he gonna figure something out. But at the end of the day, without those two guys, it was already an uphill battle. It's going to be pretty hard for us moving forward. Now, I said every team got action. We might be the only team that's really kind of looking at it like it's going to be tough to do this. They just announced Jimmy won't be back. So, listen, we're going to fight. We the Heat. I don't think we getting swept. I do think we can at least get one game. But without my guy, shout out Jimmy, shout out Terry, we going home, man. It is what it's going to be. Shout out to the Celtics, though. I'm not saying they should be taking it easy on us because obviously do what you got to do. Hold it down, but it's on our end. It's just kind of phony. Like, I was really looking forward to this series. I really thought that we had action with Jimmy Butler in there. You know, everybody acting like, oh, it don't matter if he's not playing. The Celtics getting their get back. That shit weak. But it is what it is. Moving right along to this was the most surprising game of the weekend for me was the Mavs versus the Clippers. I did not expect the Mavs to get beat down like that. At the end of the day, you know, people saying, you know, the role players didn't play that well. This and that, which they didn't. I think they had a combined 33 points from everybody outside of Kyrie and Luka. But when you look at the first half, you got to put a lot of that on Luka Doncic. Just a simple fact. Okay, he was trying to get guys shots early. He was kicking out for threes. They wasn't hitting. But at some point, man, you are the leading scorer in the NBA. You have to find a way to kind of, you know, get it going. He was missing a lot of bunnies. He was getting frustrated. He was turning the ball over. And some of them passes to his teammates he was forcing. It was one full court pass where there was no way he was getting it through. He got one where he tried to slide it in. I didn't like the body language from him early. Once they kind of got down, you just could see that they wasn't the same team that we've seen over the last month. And Kyrie is included. When you have those two type of elite scorers, you can't have an 8-point quarter. Like, I get nobody was hitting shots and they were getting good looks. If it's one thing J. Kidd can look at and say something we could build on, I don't think they'll miss that many shots again. A lot of those looks from different players were open. One player in particular that I think needs to take more shots is Derrick Jones. I know he's not really a great shooter, but he was wide open on a few shots where it's like he caught it, pump fake, took 2 dribbles into the paint, clogged it up, and then it led to either a horrible shot with the shot clock running down or a turnover. It's like if you open, you got to shoot it, or else we can't have you out there on the court. And Derrick Jones has to be out there on the court to play defense. As you can see, they have a barrage of offensive weapons, and they getting Kawhi back. So Derrick Jones, if he's out there, he got to shoot the ball. PJ didn't have a good shooting game, but I'm confident in him to just keep going. His defense is good. He had PG and Hale. If you look at the way the game went, it was everybody else that was doing great. PG did not have a good game. He hit some big shots in that fourth quarter when the Mavs was going to make a late run. I think he went on like a 7-0 run. He got the back door out of ATO, and then he got the mid-range pull-up, and then he hit the 3 in Luka face. So he had a good little stretch, but for the most part, they was on his ass. But when you look at Harden come out hooping the way he did, when you look at Russ came out with the energy that Russ came, if Russ is going to play with that level of tenacity, I think that they got to find a way to probably get Josh Green some more minutes because he's the only guy that's wired to kind of keep up with Russ' motor. Like Russ hitting threes and getting dunks, it's a lot, especially while they at home and the crowd getting involved. That's a lot to handle. The one thing that I will be interested to see with the Clippers moving forward is James Harden was super aggressive from the jump game one. When Kawhi get back, and now he got to make sure Kawhi get his touches and PG, will he continue to be that aggressive? If he continues to be that aggressive and he playing the way he was and getting his shots off and hitting threes and getting and ones, they are super tough to beat. I'm expecting Harden to get kind of to just fall into the the playmaking role, hit a shot here and there. But if he was playing how he played in game one, they are super tough to beat. When you look at, but I mean, some of these things won't continue. Terrence Mann was 3 for 3 from three. Russ was 2 for 4. I think everybody outside of PG shot 50% or better from three in this game. No way that can withstand, and that's going to keep going. Now, you can say PG probably will shoot better. I don't know. He got a little action at it, but the way PJ guards him, I think it's going to be tough for him in a one-on-one setting. When Kawhi get back, obviously that's going to open up the floor a little bit more for him, but I just feel like that's going to kind of bring James Harden back some. Now, on the other end, I don't know how you could have two bigs and Zubac goes for 20 and 15, and both bigs, Gafford and Lively, was basically unplayable. They was both over -10 on their minutes. There's no way you could play like that. There's no way you could let a big, and he's not even, Zubac is a really solid big, but he's not one of the best bigs in the league. There's no way you could take that type of beating and not be able to give it back a little bit. Now, it's more on Gafford, I will say, with Lively. Obviously, he got a lot going on with his mother passing, so him even being out there is a big deal, so I'm not going to harp too much on him. And he's also a rookie, so this was his first ever playoff game. So all of that factors in. Lively, I mean, we're praying for your hope that things kind of like he find his way throughout the series. But on Gafford's behalf, it's like, got to foul trouble early. You're not really getting in the flow of the game. You got to find a way to be more effective, because if we kind of keep going small, even though it gave them a chance when they went with Kleber and they was just small, but they kept giving up offensive rebounds. So every time they kind of like got it down to 12, got it down to 13, boom, they get to the hole, Zubac, done. Or they get a shot off, miss, rebound, kick out, 3. So those things was super deflating in the fourth quarter when it was looking like, oh, it might be a little bit of hope if they could cut it down to 10 with 5 minutes. Every time they was finna get it close to 10, boom, offensive rebound lead to a 3 or offensive rebound lead to a dunk. We got to find a way to keep the bigs on the court. If not, it's going to be tough for them moving forward. But I believe in Luka. I believe in Kyrie. I believe in their defense. I really do think that they didn't have a bad defensive game. They just played a horrible offensive game. In 2024, giving up 56 points in the first half isn't like just super crazy, especially the way they were shooting. It's just sometimes you just don't have it offensively. I think they'll have it on Tuesday and bounce back. When you look at the next series, the Bucks and the Pacers. Wow, Damian Lillard. I told y'all. I know they ain't been having a rocky season all year, going back and forth. How is they going to bounce between him and Giannis? But with Giannis out, Dame shined. 35 points in the first half. He was giving them everything they asked for. Threes, getting to the bucket. He couldn't be stopped. That was vintage Damian Lillard at his best right there. And when you look at, I don't know, it's something about when Giannis not out there, the way him and Bobby Portis play off each other, the shooters get to going, and it just be tough. The thing, and I have to agree with Charles Barkley here, which I usually don't do, as far as the Pacers go, it's not really much that they can change. This is their philosophy. Like, they got to get up and down the court. They trying to outscore you. They don't play a lot of defense. They young. That's just the way it goes. So I think they have to, the second half, Dame, which was troubling, he had 35 in the first half and didn't score in the second half. So that's something to look out for. But they start getting up and down the court. They start making a run, and they almost got back in the game. If they look at that method, they got to just get the ball and go. Make or miss, they got to be up and down the court. Tyrese Halliburton, I understand you're a pass-first player, but there's no way you can take 8 shots. And you say you're the best player on the team. At 9, 8, and 7, those are Draymond Green number. Those is not top 5, top 10 point guard in the league numbers right now. I need you taking more shots. I need you being more aggressive. If not, if you're going to continue to play like that, Pacers might mess around and get swept or losing 5. He got to find a way to continue to keep people involved and continue to do that, but look for his shot and be aggressive. Tyrese Halliburton earlier in the season was giving you 27 and 11. Now we struggling to even get to 20. If he can't get there, Obviously, Miles Turner had a pretty good game. You know, he's a solid player. He's going to give you 17 points. He's going to play some solid defense. But they don't have enough everywhere else for Tyrese Halliburton to have those type of games for them to compete. Chris Middleton had a solid game. We look at 23 and 10. He's still working his way slow. I don't know. I might have to admit he might not ever get back to what he once was. But 23 and 10 is not a bad game. When Giannis get back, I don't know how they're going to work that out. But one thing to look to in the future, if Dame and Giannis continue not to be able to play together and it continue to look this good when one of them in and one of them out, you might got to look at moving Dame, because obviously you can't move Giannis. He's a top 3 player in the world. If it's not going to work, you might as well cash in and get him while he still got some tread on his bone, and you can still get some of the value back that you traded for. But, I mean, obviously it's time to see. Hopefully Giannis get back. I still want to see it. I still think they could get to the conference finals and maybe to the finals. But it's just something to see. Every time Giannis is out, Dame goes crazy, and it do not look the same when they playing together. But we will see. Then we had, to me, what was the best game of the weekend, one of the only realistically close games we had, was the Pels versus OKC. And watching that game, I was so frustrated with the Pels. They really had every chance to win that game, and they just coughed it up. When you look at the opportunities they had late to win that game, as bad as some of them were playing, like Brandon Ingram had a horrible game, 5 for 17, 12 points. When you look at the way Lou Dort was locking him up, I feel like Dort put on a masterclass last night. And even with that being said, they were still right there. Shea in the fourth quarter, he made the last 2 buckets to put the game away, but he was turning the ball over like he was literally lost out there. Like they looked like the youngest team in the West. Like there was nothing that said that the Pels shouldn't win that game. They had a few chances where it's like put the game away, and they just would chuck up a bad shot or get a turnover when it's like, what are y'all doing? Let's run some offense. If you got Brandon Ingram, is supposed to be your best scorer, and you already limited with scores. Trey Murphy was having a good game, but even through Trey Murphy, I think sometimes he throws up. Some of the shots he threw up yesterday was crazy with the amount of time left had on the shot clock. They threw up on one possession, threw the 3 threes in a row for no reason, and they were up 2. I just didn't understand it. Trey Murphy, he's a bucket, but obviously he's still a young player, so he's still learning about when the right time to take shots and when the right time to try to get a heat check off. But BI, they're not running no offense. They just giving him the ball and letting him go ISO when that's clearly not working. Let's get him on the down screen. Let's figure out a way to get him going in different ways rather than just give him the ball and watch Lou Dort clamp him all night. That's not going to work. There's no way that the Pels, if I'm looking at this game, can sit there and say we shouldn't be up 1-0. They didn't get much from their bench, but neither did OKC. You know what I'm saying? Shea was having a really rough game throughout the middle part of it. Like I said, he had a big mid-range jumper to tie the game, and then he had an and one to take the 3-point lead. But before that, I think he had 3 turnovers in the fourth. He had a couple shots that barely even hit rim. He was really struggling, and they couldn't get it going. C.J. McCollum, he hit a couple shots here and there, but at the end of the day, somebody got to step up offensively. Trey Murphy was doing what he could. He had 21 points, and CJ ended up finishing with 20, but we need more shots. You got to get it going. Like, you hitting them little mid-range pull-ups. He hit a couple, but he missed a few bunnies when it was like, y'all got to be able to run offense. You saying you could be the point guard. You saying, you know what I'm saying, you was getting kind of held back playing with Dame being off guard, but you're not showing no point guard skills. They aren't running any offense. It's just drive, kick, shoot the 3, just throwing up, and you don't have that many shooters. I don't understand how you're looking at this and saying, oh, we just going to kick it around until we find an open 3, and your best player is struggling. Let's get some offense. Let's run some sets. If they would have did that, they would have easily won that game, in my opinion. OKC, I love the way they just chip away, but they don't have many scorers. They are dependent on their big 3, Shea, Chet, and Jalen. Jalen had 19, Chet had 15. Chet had a good all-around game because he ended up with 5 blocks, but when you look at it, they don't have enough scoring, I think, to make a deep run. And if the Pels just find a way to run some offense, they can get enough buckets, I think, to beat these guys. Like, if Zion comes back, I could see the Pels winning this series. But even without Zion, if they could just find a way to get B.I. easier shots and get him in spots where he could be effective, they got action. But shout out to the OKC, because You still have to give them credit as the 1 seed young guys. They were struggling. A lot of them wasn't having good shooting nights, but they kept battling away. The rookie Wallace made the biggest play at the end of the game when C.J. McCollum tried to get into his bag for whatever reason and got stripped and had to throw up that BS shot to tie the game. So shout out to them. They scrapped it out. That's what you want to see. This is the playoffs. Everything not going to be pretty. So even though I'm saying the Pels had a lot of action to win, at the end of the day, they didn't do it. OKC held it down. So that's what's really important. And I was impressed by that. So moving on to the Saturday games. Listen, we got the Cavs and the Magic. Everybody, like I said, was picking the Magic. But when you look at it, they are super young. They have no playoff experience. At least Shea on that young team, he'd have been to the playoffs with OKC, even though he was the second guy to Chris Paul. And then he was with the Clippers. So he know what it feel like to be around the playoffs. The Magic, they don't have that. Most of these guys was making their first ever appearance, and you can tell they came out looking lost. The Cavs jumped on them because one thing they do have is Donovan Mitchell, who's playoff proven, who's had huge games in the playoff. Darius Garland, he wasn't shooting that good early. He hit some big shots late, but he knows he's a vet now. He knows how to just keep going through it. Evan Mobley, I said in my episode that he needed to find some offense. He came out doing his thing in the first. I think he had 14 at halftime. He only had 2 in the second half, which they got to find a way to keep him involved once they get him going. But he was being aggressive. Jared Allen had 16 points. They had a balanced attack. On the Magic side, it was pretty much just we got to wait for Paolo to get going, and then Wagner kind of got going a little late. I think Wagner had 18, Paolo had 24. But other than that, it was pretty much no shows from everybody else. Fultz gave you nothing. Cole Anthony gave you nothing. Suggs didn't really give you much. The other Wagner, I think, had 10 points, but he was the only player off the bench that had more than 5 points. So they have to find a way to get a more balanced attack. I don't think they're going to win this series, but what I think they have to do this summer is find some shooting because you have good forwards. You have good guards, but they're not great shooters. So you got to find a way to shoot because having a team that can't shoot in 2024 is no recipe for success. I don't think the Cavs are a really good team. I don't think they'll win moving forward. But against this young team, I do think they have enough. When you got Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, it's just the experience. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen was being aggressive on defense. They was making plays. I just think it's enough. Even Strus, he didn't even have a good game. He had 7 points. Expect him to hit 3 or 4 threes at some point in one of these games in the series. I'm rocking with the Cavs. I feel good about that moving forward. The Suns and the Timberwolves. Outside of the Mavs game, this was the game I was also the most thrown off by. I was completely wrong about Rudy Gobert and what he was going to be able to do. 14 points, 16 rebounds. Whoa, okay, plus 19. He had a really good game. They did not play him off the court. I don't know what the Suns are going to do. The Suns have to find a way to, I don't know if Devin Booker was supposed to be the point guard, and I get that he was trying to figure that out, but he's clearly not capable of doing that. I don't know what they're going to do. Beal, you're not here to get 15 points. 6 assists is solid. We'll take that, but we need you up closer to 20-something points. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, even though he had a solid offensive game, you look at his number, 11 for 17, 31 points, he was minus 19. So he was not effective. His points did not have the impact that they normally would have. They have to find a way to get it going and throw them off a little bit and run some offense. Somebody has to, and it's probably going to have to be Devin Booker, but he got to find a way to lock in and be able to still get his offense while creating for others and getting their offensive sets going because they keep falling behind. When you look at it in the second quarter, they lost the second quarter by 11. They lost the third quarter by 10. You can't lose 2 quarters in a row by 10 or more. That's just not going to work for them. Their offense got to find a way to get going, and their defense is just, you letting Rudy Gobert hitting fadeaway shots. Anthony Edwards is dominating. At the end of the day, Anthony Edwards is showing why he's one of the elite young players in this league. He's pretty much unguardable, but you can't let they bench go for 40-plus points. You know what I'm saying? When you look at Nickeil Alexander, he had 18 points. Reed, he had an okay game, 12 points. That's on par. He's been playing good all year. But 18 from him and 40 over total from your bench, you cannot give that type of production up, especially when they bench ain't giving you much of nothing. They got to find a way to slow that down. If Nickeil going to give you that type of production and Reed going to give you that type of there's no way you get 30 points from them and you're not even getting 20 points off of the Suns bench. No way. They got to find a way to exploit the mismatches, to get Gobert out on the perimeter more and be able to work that out and find a way to get Bill going early. Bill and KD have to score more points. Devin Booker got to find a way to get everybody involved while still getting his points going. If they don't turn it around, they could be going home. I had them winning this series, but I did not like what I seen in game one. And the Timberwolves they not scared. No, the regular season clearly did not impact the way that they came out and played. Anthony Edwards is a dog. Cat didn't even play that good. Like, he's just coming back. He had 19 points. He's gonna play better. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I got to see how game 2 go before I know if I change my opinion on that. But the Suns got 95 points, ain't going to cut it when you have 3 elite scorers. Them 3 scorers, realistically, on any given night can give you 80 points, 75 points. So for y'all to come up with 95 as a team, they got to get back to the drawing board and got to find a way to run some offense and get guys their shots. That's just ridiculous. Then you move on to the Sixers and the Knicks. Listen, what in the world is Tobias Harris doing? Like, do he even want to play basketball still? Like, he is one of the most inconsistent wing players I've ever seen in my life. He just doesn't really give it to you. Maxey had a solid game, 33 points. But when you look at the Knicks, Brunson didn't even play well, but Hart played good. 22 and 13, and everybody, McBride came off the bench. They only went 8 deep and still got 40 points off their bench. Everybody came in and did what they were supposed to do and hit timely shots. OG didn't have a great offensive game, but what he was doing defensively was crazy. They are balanced. They don't go that deep, but they've been playing like this all season. They used to playing 40-plus minutes. That's what they've been doing. Josh Hart, he played 40-plus minutes in a bunch of games this year. So when you look at it, if Embiid going to keep being hobbled the way he is, I don't see what would make him throw a lob to himself and you already hobbled. I don't understand his decision-making sometimes. He clearly was hampered in the second half. I don't know how he continues to grow in that series. I might have to change my opinion on that because the way the Knicks look, obviously Jalen Brunson is going to be better as these games go along. Hard points might come down, but his rebounds, he's going to continue to rebound. He's going to continue to play hard. OG going to continue to do what he do. McBride might not give you 21, but he's going to continue to look for his shot. Everybody can pretty much redo what they did, except for you might take some of McBride points away, but you're going to give him to Brunson because he's going to play better. I don't know. I need to see some more production. And even Kyle Lowry gave them a great game. Like, he had 18 points. When you look at that as a Heat fan, and we traded him for Rozier, now Rozier not playing, that's sickening. But Lowry had a really good game to keep them in it, and he made a lot of plays. And the other guys was no-shows. That's not how that's going to work. Tobias Harris, you make way too much money for you to play like that and to be looking like that. Come on now. Oubre only gave you 10 points. He's averaging 15 on the season. You got to bring it up. You can't drop 5 points. You got to go up 5 points in the playoffs. That's just not a recipe for success. If they don't play better, and obviously, like I said, it just was game 1, and they still only lost by 7. But some of the things that we've seen from the Knicks was like they could play way better. So when the Philly play better, are they going to be able to beat them if Embiid is not at full strength or even 80%? I thought he was going to be closer to 75, 80. He keep doing goofy-ass stuff like throwing himself alley-oops. I don't even know if he's going to be able to make it through the series. So we'll see how game 2 go, and I'll be back with my verdict after that. The last game is the Lakers versus the Nuggets. When you look at this game, if I'm the Lakers, I'm pretty nervous. They was up for a large part of the game, and when you look at it, or the first half, and then you look at it, second half come, it's like, oh, okay, y'all was beating us. We got it back close at halftime. Boom, now we just take off on y'all. AD had a really good game. 32, 14, and 4. Bron came out going crazy in the first quarter. And it still wasn't enough. Like, they took the hit from your big two and just like, okay, now we're going to get to doing what we're doing. They players didn't have. Murray had a solid game. Jokic ended up having really good numbers, 32, 12, and 7. But he was just kind of going through the motions early on, kind of finding his spots. And then when it was time to turn it on, they just turned it on. D'Lo got to be much better. 6 for 20, not going to cut it. Austin Reeves had a solid 13. He shot pretty well from the field. But where is they going to get they shooting from to where they can kind of overlap with the Nuggets is capable of doing? Aaron Gordon didn't have a great game. Michael Porter Jr. can play better. So when you look at that, I just don't really see like we can look at the bright spots and be like, oh, but if this happened, they can do this and that. Like, D'Lo should play better. We'll see. But I'm not saying, like I said, and they're not that big of a team outside of Anthony Davis, who wasn't even guarding Jokic. Who else do they have that could even stay in front of him? Hachimura has no answers for Jokic. And then if you want AD to score, I get not wanting him to play on Jokic all day, but what's the answer? He's just going to be able to pick y'all apart. And they've been here before. They know they beat y'all 9 straight times. So they know that they're going to take a hit from y'all at some point. But all they know they got to do is just kind of keep going and doing their thing. And then it's going to all come together for them. I still have that series going 5. I think the Lakers will win either game 3 or 4. I'm thinking game 3, but I don't see the Nuggets looking pretty good in the West. Looking at what the other teams show, obviously the Clippers looked really strong. The Minnesota looked really strong. I still think the Nuggets is clearly the favorite to come out the West. That's just where I'm at with it right now. That's the recap for this weekend. Peace.